Good evening. Welcome to Money Matters. My name is Anthony Wilson.
And I'm Judy Kanhai. In this week's program, the director of Label House tells us how the economic slowdown is affecting his manufacturing firm and what his company is doing to safeguard employees who work late at nights. Also, we'll tell you the story of a brother and sister team selling in Chaguanas.
But first, we start with an interview with Duncan Tate, who is the director of Fujitsu, the global technology company. One of the central themes of your discussion this morning was disrupt or be disrupted.
Yeah.
In the Caribbean context, do you see us being disrupted or do you see us disrupting?
So I think this goes right to the heart of how companies and governments and countries should work. I think the choice that we should make is to disrupt. Because the reality is, whether you're a government, a private sector organization, someone's waking up every morning figuring out how to disrupt you. So I think we fundamentally have a choice to make. I think the choice is that we should disrupt. And if we do it properly, I think that technology is a force for good, and we can make the world a safer, more prosperous place by leveraging the technology, or as you put it, by disrupting.
What happens if governments in the region are slower to adopt digital technology than other parts of the population?
Well, I think there's a natural propensity that a government moves a slightly slower pace, and so it should do, because regulation needs to be well thought through. But I do think the governments and private sector organisations share a responsibility to help propel countries, our companies forward by using technology. I think emerging economies have the opportunity to leapfrog because they're not burdened with decades of what is now old infrastructure, whether it's technology or other parts of social infrastructure. So I think governments have the opportunity to leapfrog and play a key role in stimulating people to get involved in the digital economy.
I can hear the pushback coming about the cost of adopting the digital technology.
Well, I look at it in a different way, about the cost of not adopting digital technology. Because the opportunity, if we use this technology well, the opportunity is to create higher value, more sustainable roles in every country around the world. You know, at Fujitsu, we think of our primary responsibility. Why do we exist? We exist to help, not the only people who can do this. We contribute towards creating a digital society that is more prosperous and safer for everybody. So I think it's a great opportunity.
You were saying earlier that the drive for digitalization is coming from consumers. If one assumes that an entire population is made up of consumers, where does that leave the society?
So there is no doubt that it is consumers that are driving this change. Now, why would I say that? You know, when I started work 30 years ago, technology was in the hands, the control of large corporations. That is no longer the case. You know, the average smartphone has more compute power than the mainframe I first started working on 30 years ago. And that completely changes the dynamic. So in the hands of citizens now is access to the internet and all of the information on that internet, and they can move much, much faster than big companies. And I think when you put technology in the hands of people, it's like broadband. We never imagined how would anyone use all of that bandwidth we gave people. But the wonderful thing about people is they are innovative by nature. And now we're wondering, how did we survive with such little broadband capacity before? So I think power of technology in people's hands can really stimulate economies and generate growth.
Are some countries in the Caribbean better at adopting technology than others? And if so, why?
So I'm not sure I can answer that question directly. This is, as you know, this is my first visit to the Caribbean. But what I would say is We're investing technology in the region. You know, in Trinidad we have one of the world's best data centers. Very high quality, ultra reliable, very high availability. We have our cloud technologies in that data center. We're going to invest further in it. And that, I would hope, would form some of the basis of helping drive this economy forward.
Generally, could you give me a sense of how is Fujitsu's business in the region, in the Caribbean?
Well, I've looked after the Americas for just over a year now. And previously, I looked after Europe, Middle East, India, and Africa. I retain that responsibility, but then I've looked after the Americas. I think it's a good sign that it's only now that I'm here. Because Mervyn and his team running our businesses in this region, they're doing a great job. They're doing a genuinely good job. And I can see that from the customers that I've met, that we're doing a good job. The opportunity now for us in this region is to help drive forward digitalization. So yes, it ends up benefiting us, but also ends up benefiting our customers and the societies within which we operate.
You would have heard this morning complaint from one of the CEOs about the civil service in Trinidad and Tobago not being prone to adopting digital technology. What do you think can be done to speed up the process of their adoption?
I think this is an issue that faces all governments that I engage with and our teams engage with. We have to make the business case for countries about how digitalization helps drive the future. But if you believe, as I do, that the world is becoming digital, everything. You know, very shortly, the clothes we wear will be connected to the internet. Everything will be connected to the internet, and the opportunities for growth and to create high-value jobs have never been greater. And I think if we can make the case better as private sector companies and the other bodies in countries like Trinidad can engage with government, I think we can make the case to move.
So in a sense, you see the adoption of the digital technologies as creating high-value jobs. What about the people whose jobs are under threat as a result of that adoption?
So I think productivity in economies is fundamental. I think digital technology helps with that very much. When we went through the first industrial revolution, when we automated, if you want to put it, the production of cloth fabric, where every one machine put 10 people effectively out of work, and it took the world a long time to recover in terms of employment from that. I do think now the world is able to heal way faster, enabled by digital technology, I think. But it takes a different view, as an individual, about am I being made aware of what's happening in the future, and am I striving to drive my skills forward to make myself relevant in the world? And of course the change is jobs will come and go regularly now. I need to make sure that I'm keeping up with that. And I think it is down to governments and private sector organizations like Fujitsu to help inspire people to get involved in these new technology areas. I do think we have a burden of responsibility that we should fulfill.
And what about the issue of tax collection from the digital economy? One hears about complaints about Apple not paying enough taxes, Google, Amazon. How do governments in the region go about collecting taxes from the new digital economy?
Well, I think governments around the world are starting to collaborate on the topic of corporate taxation. I think there'll be more collaboration required in that area. I can't comment about the individual companies you mentioned, but the reality is our governance systems and our regulations were built for a non-digital world. And the world is digitalizing at a pace that I have never seen. And it means regulators need to figure out what do they need to do to be successful in this digital world. We're helping some economies look at how you can apply taxation to some of these new digital areas. I think it's really important that we do that. Because I come from a perspective of paying tax is a good thing. It pays for hospitals, it pays for public services. And from a Fujitsu perspective, we take that responsibility seriously.
Thank you very much.
And you too. Thank you, Anthony.
When we come back, Judy speaks with Ryan Lewis, who's the director at Label House. Money Matters will be right back.